Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Become Unstoppable. And as usual, I have an amazing guest for you who I'm going to endeavour to bring up for you. And here she is.
Hello,
Yay!
Jamie. How are you?
Here she is. Here she is. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah, that's
as I can see,
fine. I'm going to be in my car because this is the only place you can get nice peace and quiet. Otherwise, there's lots of background noise, and we don't want that, do we?
we do not. But for safety reasons, you are not driving though, my lovely, are you?
No, definitely not. You know, people do that as well. They like to multitask. That's something that a lot of people think they can do. But yeah,
We can't.
no, I'm very safely
Yeah.
parked up on the side
Yes.
and really interested to do this interview with you. So thank you for inviting
You're
me.
so very welcome, my darling. So first of all, do you want to introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what it is you do, my darling, please?
Yes, of course. So my name's Gazala Saleem. I'm a matchmaker and relationship coach, specializing for the Muslim community because that's where I, have my expertise in and my understanding more of the community and the dilemma and the different things that the community can experience. So that's my main sort of thing. I'm also a radio presenter, so I do a radio show called the Matrimony Show, and I do events, which is normal part of matchmaking, and I also write a lot of articles about relationships. So I've come from a background where I've been educating adults for over 25 years. And I feel that the relationship building sort of side is something that a lot of people don't really know about. And I feel that that's something that I'm kind of really pushing on now because relationships are so important and so vital for people to understand the actual science behind it and the psychology behind it, so that they can have long-lasting, meaningful relationships, because unfortunately people's relationships are struggling at the moment with many different factors that are contributing towards that.
Amazing.
So,
We'll
so
talk a
that's
little
me
bit
in
more
a
about that.
nutshell, but there's so much more, but
Just hold your
I'd say that's just
horses, love. We don't want to pick too soon because we've got plenty of time.
exactly, yeah.
Because before we get into your story a little bit more and about, why you're so unstoppable, I want to ask you my very famous question. What does being unstoppable mean to you, my darling?
For me, unstoppable means that never giving up, continuing to push yourself to the limits that that you feel that you can go to and beyond, because really, education or development or psychology or whatever you want to call it, there's not a limit to it. There's always that comfort zone that people go into and then they don't want to sort of get to the next level. But for me, being unstoppable means that, can you do it? Yes, you can. And then moving yourself, shifting yourself to say, well, if she can do it, then I can do it as well. There's no reason for me to doubt myself, because that's what a lot of people do. It's this fear of achieving, this fear, this doubt that not good enough, but being unstoppable is mean that there's no reason for you to, be the position that you're being. If you want to get somewhere else, if you want to succeed or achieve, then it's possible to do that.
Amazing.
That's what unstoppable means to me.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
It's so true. It's so true though, isn't it? And that's why I kind of love my branding around this, really. And what I've done again, which is very naughty of me, I forgot to introduce myself.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, I know you do some wonderful work. It's excellent, and I think so many people can benefit from what you actually offer. So yeah, that's your branding and being unstoppable. Yeah, so carry on.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I'm, for those who don't know me, and hopefully there'll be many of your watchers who start to learn and know me too, and maybe join for us on future events. But my name's Julie Fitzpatrick, and I'm the founder of Milliside Therapy and Coaching. And I predominantly work with business owners and professionals, male and female. And basically, my tagline is I help business and professional owners to become unstoppable so they can live their life with purpose and passion. And I do that tapping into their deep imagination and finding out how they can use it for them rather than against them. So I work with the subconscious mind basically, and eradicating those old limiting out of date. Just it connects with what you said just a moment ago about feeling not enough. There's only a few beliefs actually that any of us really have. So in pretty much without fail, any of my clients that I have, it'll be I'm not good enough, didn't have my needs met, I felt different, or I felt unlovable. Those would be the core root beliefs, and they impact the whole element of our lives.
Absolutely, yeah. I totally agree with you. These are the things that will prevent us from getting from where we want to. But these are self-talk. We're talking to ourselves when we're actually saying these things, and in reality, they don't exist. It's all in our mind, isn't it? So, yeah. So it's really good that you're kind of like offering this service, and I know that it's brilliant what you do, and so many people can benefit from this. And people that are listening in, if they know anybody who can kind of like benefit from coming out of their kind of shell, really, isn't it? And really exploring of what they can actually achieve. I feel that I've been stuck in this position, like you've said. I've been through, as you know, I've been through 2 divorces. I'm married a 3rd time now, and sometimes you start doubting yourself that there's something wrong with you. That there's something you can't be a good wife, or you can't be in a good relationship. But that's all rubbish, really. You have to analyze the situation. Every relationship, every situation is different, and understanding yourself and believing in yourself. I think a lot of people don't believe in themselves, and that's what causes them to sort of not get to where they want to get to. Everybody wants to live their dream, and it's possible to do that. It's just having faith in yourself and trust in yourself and just going with it, really. So that's what you guys, that's what you do. You make things possible for people, and I love that.
No, bless you. Thank you for promoting me there. It's really kind of you. And but
of course,
this is so true though, because
it's the reality. It's the reality. I've seen it. We met over a year ago now, isn't it? And I've seen the work you do, and it's just brilliant. And I would definitely say that we both met on the Gold Circle, and that was a big investment from both of our parts. You've been there. It's a big investment, but sometimes people have to invest in themselves to learn and develop, and to get to where you get to. Because professionals are out there and got their expertise, and there's certain things we can't know everything. Nobody knows everything. If people think that I know it all, they're just kind of kidding themselves, really, aren't they? There's so much to learn, so much to learn, so much to develop over the period of the year. I came from a teaching background. I learned coaching. I learned to be a matchmaker, and now I'm mingling with some big names within the industry. I'm quite pleased to be in the position that I'm in. We met Paul Brunson just the other day, which was the highlight of my career in matchmaking. So that was excellent. And then but also doing the radio show and doing everything and winning awards. I'm winning awards, and I'm going to Dubai in February to collect an international award, which is the Outstanding Leadership in Education award. And then I'm being shortlisted for 2 awards here in the UK with the Asian Business Chamber of Commerce for Female Entrepreneur of the Year, and Outstanding Tech and Digital Company of the Year. So I'm quite pleased with the progress, and that's
really,
Yeah, and then I'm not, but I'm not going to stop there. I'm
unstoppable.
I'm unstoppable, and I'm going to carry on and on and on. And I've got so many things planned and so many things happening in the pipeline that I'm going to be determined to sort of continuing to sort of progress. Yeah.
You are amazing, and what I love about you as well, you are just so humble about it, and I got this, but, just getting on with it, which is amazing. Yeah. But can I ask you a couple of questions, sure. Right? So a few things that have cropped up in my mind. I'll probably forget the second one in a minute, but don't worry. So, you're saying earlier that you came from a teaching background, and now from that teaching background, you're doing this, and all these amazing things, right? When you was a teacher, did you ever dream to do this? How did it come about that this is the thing you're going to end up doing?
Yeah, excellent question that is, and I'd never ever imagined. So I never ever imagined, becoming a matchmaker. I did watch a few shows on Netflix. I'm sure everybody's familiar with these matchmaking, shows that come on different platforms, and I did really enjoy them, but I never thought I could become a matchmaker, or I could, I had those skills. Although I've always had an intuition towards who could be a good, sort of who could look good with somebody, or who could. So I've always had that within me. And in fact, when I was 15 years old in school, and I matched one of my friends, Tracy, with a guy called Warren, and I got them two hooked up, and they're still together even today after so many years. So the way that I actually did this was during COVID. We were at home teaching our students, so we were doing these things on Teams, so we were doing these lessons that I was sort of delivering online. And obviously this was a completely new way of teaching. It was something new for us. It was not in a classroom setting. And then, during this time, a lot of people were struggling with their relationships, because prior to that, people were working. They were going out to work. They'd only probably come home and see each other for a couple of hours. And, they were just, the whole routine was kind of very automated, and they'd just do their thing. And the next morning they'll go back off to work, and the weekends were their own social events and what have you. So the partnership between the two, they weren't really interacting with each other as much. But during COVID, they were kind of like, having to be together.
Everyone was just forced together, weren't they?
Yeah. And then the divorce rate, you're hearing a lot about, arguments and divorce and domestic issues and what have you. And then there was a lot of things popping up saying that, why don't you do a coaching qualification? And being a teacher, there's a lot of transferable skills from teaching into coaching. So I thought, well, okay, it was a time where I had a lot of time on my hands, because I didn't have to travel into work and things like that. And I thought, okay, it was a bit expensive, and I thought, well, it's going to give me value. It doesn't really matter if it's expensive. If it's going to add value to what I already have, then it's worth it. So I did this coaching qualification, and then the guy who was training us, he said that I'm going to do a relationship coaching course as well. And because the course that he delivered was so fantastic, I thought I definitely want to do this relationship one. So that's where I went into relationship coaching, and explained to him what I was, where I was with my own relationship and what had happened in the past. And he said, well, why don't you become a relationship coach? So the relationship coaching side of things came about through that, and I've really been passionate about that, learning about the different mindsets people have, and why people have, some relationships are very successful and some are not. There's obviously a huge science behind that as well, which I've now kind of like come to learn. And then the matchmaking side was when I opened up my office and I said I'm going to be doing relationship coaching. I got a lot of people approaching me saying, well, why don't you do matchmaking? Because, I'm really struggling to find someone, and there's nothing out there. There's a lot of apps out there, but I need a more personalized approach. And why don't you do this? And that's where the matchmaking really started. And I hadn't realized how much of a huge problem it was in the community. And, so obviously once they found out that I'll be doing matchmaking as well, and then it was just, everybody was coming through. Yes, it is a slow process. For some people, it's quite a new concept as well. But yeah, I mean, that's where it all started. And it's been nearly 2 years now. The company's called Muslim Matrimonial Coach, and that's why originally it was just Muslim Matrimonial Coach. People will think, oh, that's a coaching company. How is that related to matchmaking? But that's how the matchmaking came about from it. But then I've met with a lot of really great, matchmakers. I'm part of the ABIA, which is the Association of British Introductory Agencies. So we network online, and then we have meetings as well. So that's, and then I'm going to the Global Love Institute conference next week, so I'm looking forward to that.
Paul's going to?
That's the one that Paul Brunson will be going to. That's the one that he mentioned that he will be there. So hopefully, he said he would be introducing me to other reputable matchmakers. So because it's something that I provide is very unique, it's very different from what the other.
So what makes yours different? What makes yours different, darling?
I think mine is because it's focused within the Muslim community and understanding the different sects within the Muslim community, understanding the cultural side of things as well. So, you've got the Pakistani community, you've got the Arab community, you've got the African community, all Muslims, but, they're kind of got different ways of, and different, some ideologies are a little different. Okay, so for example, when you have like the Catholic and the Protestant and the Jehovah, they've got different. So a lot of people within their own sect want to be connected to somebody who's within their own sect as well. So that's another thing. So there's not just the mindset and the values and the sort of, the characteristics and the behaviors that people are looking for. They also want to be aligned with somebody who has similar beliefs and similar sort of affiliations.
That makes sense.
So that's the different thing about that, really. But so now with this, what I've just said, we provide that service, but also having an app launch very soon, which is coming up in the pipeline. So we're going to be doing an app launch, and the app is not your normal matchmaking app. It does have some features of matchmaking, but the main part of the app is going to be relationship building. So there's going to be there are in the within the app, there's features such as there's assessments that people can complete to find out what their love language is, what their attachment style is, what their strengths and weaknesses are, what areas they need to work on, how to deal with conflict resolution. So there's some target setting that they can do. There's some tasks that they can complete to sort of better understand themselves. And there's some journals and things that they can fill in to sort of like say, well, if they are having some difficulties, within their relationship. So it's not just for singles looking for a companion, a partner. It's also for married individuals, or people in a relationship, rather I should say, who want to enhance their relationship and improve it and understand relationships better. They can also go onto the app and sort of look at how to improve their communication, how to make that intimate connection with their partner, lots of different, and family, if they've got children, the roles and everything, because obviously with gender roles, the shift of gender roles and things these days, they can learn a lot more through the app. And it's like your friend, basically. It doesn't, some people feel a bit intimidated if they are having some ups and downs, and every marriage has its ups and downs. So some people don't want to go and share it with somebody, because today you might be having a bit of a down, you might be having a problem, but tomorrow things might be absolutely fine. And then you just feel, why did I need to go and talk to so-and-so about it? Because we're fine now. It was just a little problem we were having. So this is something that you can go to and, check to see what's going on. Is he's not talking to me? Okay, communication problem. Let me see what I can do, what things I can do to improve, or
No.
to deal with this problem. And it'll help you to do that. It'll give you some prompts of what you can do. So I think it's a great app. It's something there's nothing like it out there, so it's very unique, very innovative piece of device, that you could use. And it'll give you, when you do your assessments, it'll give you a result. It'll tell you like a little plan of what you need to do.
Oh,
And if they are looking for coaches, then, then they can, sort of like put a request in that we need to see a coach, and they can see people, someone like yourself, or, so depending on what their needs are, we can put them in touch with some really reputable coaches who, that we know someone. Yeah.
It's so amazing. And this is what I'm talking about, about being unstoppable, right? So we're talking, what, 3 years, if that, since you started this? Or since you started?
Just a bit less, really. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I started it during COVID, but didn't really launch until about a year and a half later, because obviously there was no point launching in.
Yeah. I mean, I was very similar, actually, because I found myself in a curveball situation in the pandemic as well. And that's when I started to retrain, because I spent 35 years in the corporate world. And it just wasn't rocking my boat anymore. And I did train as a counsellor years ago, but I didn't ever do it as a full as a paid job. I did it as a volunteer. But same for me. I changed in the middle of the pandemic, really, and I only quit December last year. So same as you, I've been like building it, but I can't even comprehend my life now to what it was like in my old world. It is so different in a really, really good way. I don't feel anywhere near as stressed and overwhelmed as I used to. I mean, don't get me wrong, being a business owner and building it is not easy, is it? But
it's not. It's a lot of effort, but it's so much more satisfying.
To know that, I don't know about you, but I don't as a job anymore, because I don't, like sometimes if you're in like a job that you have, like on a Sunday night, you have that horrible feeling it's a Monday morning. I'm more of a case of, oh my God, I can't believe I've got to the end of the week already. I haven't even finished this yet. I've got to do this, I don't see it as a job. I see it because how can it be seen as a job when I get the opportunity to transform people's lives?
I think the positive thing that you're offering myself as well as coaches, to people, it's just so satisfying that you feel you're doing a service. You're not doing a job. You're kind of like improving people's lives. You're helping them to come out of the bad situation that they're in into a positive situation. And that's just so rewarding within itself, by knowing that you've made that transformation for that person. You've been instrumental in changing the quality of their life. I think that's just so rewarding within itself.
And I think that's what I want to get across to the people that are watching this as well, is the fact that you're never stuck, right? It's a choice. I mean, I didn't choose at that time to be unemployed, but it was a case of I could have chosen just to wallow in my self-pity and blame everybody else and not take a look at myself, and I could have just been annoyed and just got myself in a bit of a rut. But I made the decision that I was annoyed to start with, don't get me wrong, but for about 5 minutes, and then it was like, do you know what, I didn't even like that job anyway.
Exactly.
And then I had to start looking at myself, because as much as I felt that it was a bit some of it wasn't, what I would have planned for. But when I actually took a look at myself, I thought, do you know what? You haven't really been enjoying it. You haven't been putting your heart and soul in it. Because I didn't know then either, actually, that I was suffering from the menopause. I just thought I'd lost my confidence, lost everything, right? So it's only later on doing all my retraining that I realised, oh my God, I was going through that. I didn't realise, right? But the point being, I didn't even begin to start to change my career until I was 52. Next month I'm going to be 55. I'm only just starting a new business, which in some ways quite mad, really, in a way, isn't it? When you think that a lot of people and my friends are starting to wind down now and start thinking about retirement, and my husband did the same thing. He retrained in lockdown as well. So there's two of us going out there, being self-employed, but we've never been happier. It's like we're both doing something that we're really enjoying now. He's an electrician, and he gets to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it. Although saying that, we don't really, because we're probably more involved in our businesses than we probably should be. But it's not the point, right? We're still doing something that we're kind of passionate about. And I think it's really important, isn't it, that you basically have a choice. You can have a fixed mindset, or you can have a growth mindset. And if you've got a fixed mindset, it just means that, you're not really ready to change. You don't want to change. Maybe you think the world owes you a favour. Maybe you blame everybody else but yourself to go and have a look at yourself. Or you can have a growth mindset where you think, do you know what? I can do more. I want more. I want to grow. I want to continue to grow. I want to do more training. I want to learn. And like you, who's just constantly done training and is constantly doing training, I'm the same. I've continued to heavily invest in my self-development. So I had to invest in myself to unlock my limiting beliefs so that I don't lack confidence anymore. I mean, a year or two ago, I wouldn't have been, I didn't even know what Instagram was a couple of years ago, to be fair. But sorry, Instagram. But now I've moved on, right? And now I've got this, and it's kind of, and I think when you start reeling off all the things that you've done and you're doing and your awards, I've won an award, I've been in a book, I'm writing another book. I didn't even know I wanted to do those things. And I asked you that question a little while ago about, a couple of years ago, was that your dreams and aspirations? Which it wasn't. And the same with me. I didn't think, this is what I'm going to do. Life just happens sometimes, doesn't it? And you can make changes and evolve.
Absolutely. I think in all fairness, I think COVID gave everybody a time to reflect. I'm 56, so I'm a little bit older than you. So, and I was also in this, I've done many different things. I started off working in a newsagent, then I worked for the health authority as a practice manager. So I've done different things. So, like where you say that you've got different skills, I think I've really acquired that over the years. But my big bulk of my career was in education. I'd say the biggest bulk of my career was in education. And, and I think sometimes, you're saying that Sunday evening feeling that, I need to get to work in the morning, and it's kind of like you're almost like, this probably is not a good analogy that I'm going to give, but I know that some senior sort of analysts have talked about this. Sometimes what actually happens is you feel you're almost like a slave to them, that you need to go in and you're doing a duty for them and you're helping their organization to grow, and the appreciation that comes across is hardly anything, and sometimes when you need to have time off for your family, recently my father passed away sadly, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time with him. There's that flexibility, like that you've got within your own workplace. Yes, you do work twice as hard as you would normally work within a work environment, and that's not just because you want to, because you're passionate about what you do, what you're doing, and you enjoy it, and sometimes I find myself working on a Sunday and it doesn't really bother me, because I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for someone. Lesson planning sometimes used to take me, especially when we used to have Ofsted coming, and then, you need to get all the lessons all up to scratch. And you're thinking, well, it should be like that all the time anyway, but, exactly. So all this panic and all this pressure that you got from your work environment, the workplace, I think it's just so much nicer to work for yourself, to grow your business. And I think you actually learn a lot more then as well. I'd say from where I was before I started this journey and where I am now, I'm just so much of, I'm a completely different person. I would not be able to come on to a platform like Instagram and speak quite confidently, about my own personal you know, disappointments in life, the problems that I've had, I would feel, how am I going to speak, and how are people going to perceive me? And thinking of doing a radio show. As you know, I've been offered a TV show as well, which I'm kind of stalling a little bit. I'm gonna sort of think about that a little, because this year I'm looking to travel. I'm traveling to Pakistan for 4 weeks, and then I'm going to go off to Dubai for 7 weeks. And you know, I'm looking at going to Germany and to Canada as well. So there's lots of things happening. I'm quite excited about it, and like yourself as well. You know, like you know where you started this journey, and what we've learned through the groups that we've been going to as well, the Gold Circle and what have you. We've completely transformed as individuals, haven't we? You know, and
absolutely, and it's about, like we said earlier, it's about, if you want to change, yes, you can make changes, small increment changes for yourself, but really, if you want to change properly, you need to get help, whether that be therapy, whether that be business training, whatever it might be. But I think it's important to understand our worth, because I don't know about you, I've kind of had what I would call sales calls with people, and you talk about the investment side of it, and they go, oh, I wasn't good. Oh no, I can't do that. And it's like, well, what value are you putting on yourself then? And you said something earlier about, I didn't know how much it was, but I knew it was going to, you know, be worth it because you was investing in yourself. And that's what we have to get over it. And the problem is, so many people, and I've got it a tiny bit still, but we have money belief issues, right?
Yeah.
About our value and talking about money, and is money dirty? Or who do you think you are to have money? And money doesn't grow on trees. I mean, these are all beliefs that we achieve, are drummed into us basically as we're growing up, and that can really impact how we interact in our business or our professional lives, because it can keep us small,
of course.
You know. And if people are not willing to invest in themselves, then unfortunately you're not going to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people want big things to happen, but they don't want to, you know, they want big things to happen in their life. You know, they want to have the big house, they want to have the big, you know, the car, the luxury and everything. But when it comes to, you know, sort of investing in yourself to get there, then, you know, people want things to be done for free. Yes, there are good things that come for free, but if you want something of value that's really going to impact your life, then you do need to invest in yourself. And you know how much of an investment, you know, we do when we're part of these big groups stuff, you know, and networking groups and stuff. It is quite a substantial amount, but I think it does get you places, and it gets you places quick. You know, otherwise it'll probably still happen, but you'll be spending a lot of time trying to get there. You know, so I mean, this year for me, yes, you know, the business has developed and things have, but for me, it's been, a lot of it has been self-development and really getting that to that position where you can kind of like say, yes, I know where I am, and, you know, feeling comfortable in that place as well, not thinking that, oh, fearful that I can't do this, or how I can do this. I would say that I can do this, and I am doing this. And I'll continue to sort of push myself to get to wherever I want to get to, you know. And I think that's an achievement within itself, really, you know.
Not
a lot of people can say that. No. And you know, when people look at me and they think, oh, she's a Muslim woman, she's got a scarf, and a lot of people probably initial thoughts might be, oh, can she speak English? Can she, you know, like. And you think, well, okay, you know, it's just a perception, isn't it? You know, it's this stereotyping, you know, that people have. But I'm quite thankful not to, you know, I'm thankful to God that, you know, I've kind of like has given me the ability to learn. And I think, you know, my mom now, she's 83 and she's still learning. And she's always said to me, that throughout your life, never stop learning, always continue to develop yourself, always try to be the best version of yourself. And, you know, never ever give up, because my mom's kind of really instilled that in me, to say that, you know, you can do it and you will do it. My mum never had an education. She was 13 years old when she married my dad, and that was quite the norm back then. And she wasn't allowed. She didn't go to school at that time back in those days. Like I said, she's 83 now. And there was no schooling for girls in Pakistan. And my uncles, her brothers, used to go to school, and when they used to come back, she used to pick their books up and say, can you teach me this? And my mum learnt through the books of her brothers. And my mum's like really been an inspiration for me, to be honest with you. And it's true, learning should be throughout our lives.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter how old we are. If I live to see the same age as my mom, I just hope that I'm still learning, and
I love that.
learning something new.
True. And I really agree with everything you just said, and I probably didn't do that. Well, no, that's not true actually. It's funny, right? I was going to say something, but now I'm going to stop myself, right? Because and I'll tell you for why in a minute. What the limiting belief that I uncovered about myself was that I wasn't good enough, and I spent my whole childhood just living on the sidelines, right? It was all about I was always average, because my mindset was that if I'm really bad, then I'll get noticed, and if I'm really good, I'll be noticed. So if you just stay in the middle, then you don't really get seen, right? And this was so true, right? So much so, probably a couple of years ago now, but my son was around my parents' house, and they were clearing out a drawer or something, and they found some of my school reports, right? And like sometimes you think, I wonder if I just made that up, and it wasn't like that at all. But I had to up, like some of them back. I mean, I'm going back now because I'm very old, but they used to be handwritten in like a little book, right? Yeah. And
same as mine,
not like the electronic versions they get today, right? Yeah. And some of them, right? When you might know this as a teacher as well, right? That if someone doesn't really know who this student is, they just write something very wishy-washy, flowery. And I've read it and I thought, you don't even know who I am. And then some of the other comments, it was just like, oh my God, it was actually true. So I kind of felt sad, but also laughed, because it was like, oh, okay, so it was true. But it's really funny though, because I only really thought this through when I wrote the chapter of the book that I'm an international #1 best-selling co-author of, I hasten to add, about how I uncovered my lack of confidence, right? But it was only when I look back, like you did earlier, and you went, oh, I've done this, and that kind of stuff. And I was about to say to you just now, so I'm coming back to the point that I was making about I was going to say I never really was someone that wanted to really learn until I got into the job that I'm doing. And then that's when I stopped, because I thought, you're such a liar. Because throughout my whole of my adult life, right, at work, I used to do exams at work sometimes because I had to, but then I did project management exams. I did a few of those, and they weren't easy, but I would pass them, but I would never tell anyone. It was just like, oh yeah, I just done that. And then I did 4 years training to be a counsellor, right? And when I did that, I didn't really shout it from the rooftops. It was just, oh yeah, I've done that, moved on. Yeah. And throughout my career, I kind of moved up and progressed, but I didn't intentionally mean to do it. I didn't go, oh, I'm going to go for that job because I want to be manager of this area and all. I didn't do any of that. But somehow I kind of just ended up doing stuff. Yeah. And it was only when I was reflecting back on when I was writing the chapter for my book, and I was like, oh my God, how could you ever have thought that you were average? And I contracted for about 10 years. I earned quite good money. I've got a nice house. It's like, how did I ever think that? But even though the writing was there, everyone would see that I wasn't average, but I was the only one that couldn't see it. And it was only uncovering my belief that I wasn't good enough that things started to change. And then I started, right, I am going to be visible. I am going to come out. I am going to do videos. I am going to put myself out there. And yeah, that's where I am now. And all that was tweaking a limiting belief. And when I say all that it was, right, I mean, obviously people need to come and work with me so I can tweak theirs for them. But it is delving deep into the subconscious mind and identifying the belief and changing it. Yeah. And once you change it, you're all right, because at your conscious level, you can say all day long that you're amazing. You can do that, and that's telling your mind, and your mind will eventually pick it up. But if your undercovering belief is you're not, your subconscious will always win. So you can try and be as positive, and I'm not saying don't do that, absolutely, because your mind does listen to what you tell it, and the more you say it, the more it will learn by repetition, which is 100% true, and we must do that. But if the root cause is you're not good enough,
I totally agree with you.
It will always.
It's basically a constant, for some people, it's a constant battle where they want to do something and they believe in it, but their subconscious mind is telling them that you can't do it. It's like, you know, they second person, that's the one saying that, yes, you're going to do it and you're going to do it. But that inside, that other thought that you've got is, oh, well, you can't do this, and you're not good enough, and you're not. And sometimes that can be, I guess, obviously you're more of an expert on this side, is could be like through maybe somebody has said something, you know, to say that you're not good enough. Or sometimes we're telling ourselves that we're not good enough, but we are good enough, and we can do it. And, you know, it's about believing. But you could help a lot of people to change that way of thinking, because that's what that's your expertise, of getting people to really believe in themselves, and, you know, change that way of thinking, and that sort of subconscious thing that's telling them that you can't do it. And then, you know, they'll feel liberated, and they'll feel that they can do whatever they can do, and people can't,
and they can
everybody's
become
got the
unstoppable,
ability.
darling, can't they?
Yeah, that's right.
They become unstoppable,
just like me and you.
which is where all this came from in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, you know, and this is why I love doing these as well, because it's a conversation, and we've had some really lovely comments in here. And I've had this conversation with some of my guests before about whether I should mention these comments as we're talking, and I mostly don't. And I'll tell you for why, because I'm frightened that I'm just going to lose my focus, and that I'm not going to be able to concentrate. But I did manage to type.
It's good that people are listening in, and
Yeah.
it's good that people see value in what we're doing here, you know, and hopefully they'll be able to get in touch with you, you know, looking for a service that you're providing. And if people are looking for a matchmaking coaching service, relationship coaching, they can contact me, you know. And we're there to support people, we're there to help people, because, you know, anything is possible. If they want to achieve, they can do it through changing their mindset, or, you know, improving their limiting beliefs like what you do. Or if they're struggling within their relationships, there's help out there for them as well. So this is, you know, a great platform for us to highlight these issues. And what we're doing here is we're complementing each other's service, you know, and there'll be people here listening in that need to improve their mindset. And, you know, the thing is, investing in yourself, you can decide to not take that step and, you know, save your pennies, or you can decide to take that step and say, I'm going to invest in myself, because today is something that I want to change. I'm not going to stay in the position that I'm in. If me and you can do it at the age, you know, at our age, then anybody can do it, you know what I mean? And it's possible for anybody. You know, I'm a grandmother, I've got 2 grandchildren. So, you know, and I've done lots of things, but I'll say that I'm the happiest now that I've ever been in my life, and thank God, you know, for that. I can only sort of,
I know, and that
so
is so
it's good to be in that position. And not a lot of people can say that, you know. Yes, you know, the people say, oh, she's the age that, you know, I am, it's like a menopausal age, you know, and a lot of women go through depression and everything. And I just say that I'm just feeling so happy within my life, you know, where I am. And I think that's because I've taken control of things. And sometimes you have to take control of things, don't you? And when you feel that they're out of control, then you've let them be the way that they are. Invest in yourself, take that step. You know, if you feel that you need to improve your limiting beliefs, contact Julie. She'll be able to put you in the right track and support you. If you are having struggles with your new relationship, it doesn't need to be like that. Things can improve. There's help and support out there. I can help you. I can put you in the right direction. So, you know, just take positive action today.
Brilliant.
Anybody who's listening in.
I love that. And I think that's a nice summary to the end of this, because I think we unfortunately need to wrap it up now. We could go for hours, couldn't we? We could go for
but it's been brilliant.
I think it's been been great having you on, sweetheart. And you're gonna what's gonna basically happen is this video will be released on Instagram hopefully later today. But it will also be repurposed on my YouTube channel, which is called Millicide Therapy and Coaching. So all my interviews that I've done on here, Become Unstoppable interviews, my client testimonial interviews, and short client video testimonials are also on there. So take yourself over there, go and like and subscribe, because I don't have many followers yet and I need some more. And I'll also give you a copy of the video as well, so you can repurpose that on your platforms too. So on that, we will provide you with the information on the YouTube channel of how you can contact yourself with all your different places. But obviously, I'll tag you in the video so that your followers can follow you around with this video too. But so much, and we're looking forward to you winning these next couple of awards.
Everybody, you know, keep your fingers crossed for me, and so thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
It's been a real pleasure. Really nice talking about different issues and different ways of supporting people. So that's what we want to do, really.
Thank brilliant you, thank you, sweetheart, and thank you everyone for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you for your beautiful comments. So I think you have, so that's good. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you next week with my next guest, who obviously I'm not going to tell you who it is, because as usual I can't remember, but it doesn't matter because it depends on the sequence of you watching this. But all you need to know is there's a guest that is super unstoppable, like all my guests that I have on here. And on that note, if anyone does want to speak to me about coming on my series, there is two main criteria. One, you need to have an Instagram account, obviously, because that's quite important. And two, you need to be unstoppable. So if you fit any of those criteria and you fancy being on here, then please contact me and we can have that conversation. So thanks everybody. Have a lovely day, lovely evening, lovely morning, wherever you're watching this, and we'll see you next time. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.
Take
care, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.